Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
You left your spooky eyes in.
We've got Chris.
Did I already introduce myself? I get confused.
And I'm Kia. Hi, welcome to the show. I left my spooky eyes in. Ooh, it's a spooky book. No, not really. Not a spooky book. We are reading Birds of Prey. That's the name of this book. I kept thinking of it as like Oracle and Black Canary, and they never have a team name in this book, do they? They never say, we are the Birds of Prey. Anyways, we're reading some Birds of Prey, everybody. Gail Simone took over this book in 2003, and really, I think, is she the one who kind of put it on the map, would you guys say? I've never read any Birds of Prey. You guys got to fill me in on everything.
So there was a Birds of Prey TV show from like 0203 that predates this comic.
Whoa.
But the comic was like a series of one-shots, like in the mid-90s with Chuck Dixon and somebody else, I can't remember exactly who. And
Greg Land was the original creator.
Was he? Because I know there was a series of like one-shots because like Barbara Gordon had been shot in The Killing Joke, so she was Oracle. And then they had Black Canary had gone through like 4 or 5 reboots, and none had really stuck. So they put them in like a one-shot together, like this juxtaposed them. And then they had a series of one-shots like every 6 months until they just like, well, let's just make this a series. And that was with Chuck Dixon and Greg Land. And Dixon went through a couple artists over the first 56 issues. I think the Strangers in Paradise writer also did a stint on Birds of Prey.
Oh.
But it was... But it was was it Terry something? I can't remember.
Terry Moore, I think.
Yeah, that's right. But it was ostensibly just a Black Canary and Dinah Lance, I believe is her real name, and Oracle book. And they basically never met in real life or like in person. They just always talked through their communicators for the first 20-something issues. They didn't meet till issue 21.
I was going to say, they eventually did, but they did make it like a big reveal because the whole thing was, it was like a Charlie's Angels thing where Black Canary didn't know who Oracle was for a long time.
And yeah, that makes sense. Oracle is like a type of character who's hiding in the shadows. You know, she's bound to a wheelchair, and so her new superpower is essentially just having all the information that is available to her, right. Which is pretty great.
Yeah, and it's really cool. And so then for this particular lineup, Huntress is added, as then that's Gail Simone's like big like new addition to like kind of change the status quo of this book. But it's weird because the TV show had Huntress in it, so
a different Huntress.
Yeah, because she was Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle's child, heavily marketed to think that it was the child of Batman Returns' Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer.
So to digress very briefly into DC continuity, so the original Huntress was a pre-crisis character who was the child of Batman and Catwoman in a world where they aged normally. So by the 1970s, Batman was like 50 years old, Catwoman was in her 40s, and they had like a 20-year-old child. And then Catwoman is killed by her former like criminal henchman, and Huntress decides to avenge her by becoming a vigilante. Batman later dies as well, and Huntress joins, I think, the JSA. I may be getting that wrong. I'm not a DC Comics expert. But so that was the one that was in the TV show Birds of Prey, which had very little to do with anything else. And then, yes, Gail Simone adds Huntress to Helena Bertinelli, who is the daughter of basically... Al Pacino from The Godfather, where he is a like made man. His daughter has this like very privileged childhood. Then her father dies, and she realizes like, oh, he was like this mob boss that everyone hated. And then she becomes a vigilante who fights crime. So that's the Huntress that actually joins.
Okay, good. We don't get a whole lot of her backstory or really a whole lot of her identity outside of just the mask in this issue or in these issues here. So I'm glad to get a little bit of that backstory.
And
I'm sure we would have gotten it eventually throughout.
And if you're interested, because you may have seen like, oh yeah, there's a Birds of Prey movie coming out like in a week.
Yeah, that's why we're reading this.
Yes, exactly. I believe in the TV series they fought Harley Quinn a few times.
Yeah, she was again because that show appeared to be taking place in that alternate Earth. Harley Quinn, I think, was basically the Joker's heir in that show. So, definitely a weird version of the Birds of Prey being on the WB or the CW in like 2001.
Unlike the movie Birds of Prey, which doesn't seem to have an Oracle in it.
Oh, interesting.
No.
But it has Cassandra Cain. Go figure.
You know, it's a good name for a ladies hero team, and I'm glad we're getting a ladies hero team movie.
It doesn't have Black Canary. Yeah, it does have Black Canary. It has Huntress.
Yes, I believe it
Renee
does.
Montoya.
You know? Hey,
Rosie
it's a different
Perez.
thing.
Rosie Perez. Renee Montoya. I like it.
Wow, I wonder if she'll be the Question, or if this is just going to be Montoya the cop.
Ooh, Renee Montoya, the Question. That'd be great. I would imagine the Question on a big screen in a movie theater. Wow. Can you imagine that? I would love it. Anyways.
It's a lot,
wow.
A lot of preamble to say that we're focusing just on.
Preamble.
But Birds of Prey, I know that specifically when we talk about Birds of Prey, like this is the run. Gail Simone's run is the one that you should give a shit about.
Yeah. Worth mentioning, I think we brought up Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is not in this. I don't think she ever joined the Birds of Prey in the comics. Correct.
I did a quick search. I mean, like Manhunter is a member and a few other people, but didn't look like Harley Quinn was. Gail Simone was wrote it for, I want to say, like 50-something issues. I think she left with like issue 108. So 56 to 108. Yeah. So.
All right. So let's dive in. These are from 2003 when she took over. Gail Simone with Ed Benes on art. So it starts with a pretty nice little scene of Black Canary intimidating this greedy CEO. His like car's broken down. He's in the rain, and he can't get anyone on his phone. So she picks him up, and she's got all the information from Oracle about how to take him down. It's a nice little scene of just seeing them doing their thing. It's also nice to see superheroes go after white collar criminals. You never really see that very often.
It's very common in this book, though. I like it.
Yeah, I like it.
It's very quote unquote woke for 03. Although people were always mad at rich people, but this is very much a the rich book.
Yeah,
and he does look like Tony Stark, so that's fun.
He does.
I was surprised though, because I like the coloring, like from the get-go, because like I'm like looking at the covers and I'm like, this is it looks like a very like bright like DC house style type of book, and it's not exactly, but then like the colors were a lot deeper and red, and they felt more like a Bat book than what I was expecting going in. I really liked it. I thought the opening pages were really well colored and designed.
Who was the colorist on this? I don't even remember.
I think it's honestly is one of those companies. It's like Hi-Fi.
It's Hi-Fi, yeah. I gotta say real quick, I forgot to say that at the end of this, we're continuing our read of Marvel's. Marvel's Eye of the Camera #1 is coming up. We'll get to it. All right, back to the coloring. Yeah, it's really great, really vibrant. This art reminded me of somebody, but I can't put my finger on it. It
felt a little like a little Tim Saley. This first opening scene, just the way that like the thin pencil work and like kind of like big colors, felt a little like, I would say, any Ed Brubaker Bat book.
I disagree with both of those, honestly. I don't know. I don't think it reminded me of somebody, but I just don't know who.
And Chris, would this have been on like crappy paper for DC of this era? This wouldn't have been glossy, right?
Oh, that's tough. Because I remember the trade wasn't on glossy paper, but I don't remember if the monthly issues were.
Because there were a few DC books that were like not on good paper, not on glossy paper.
I think it would have just been on regular paper, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Boy, one of these days we should break down like the materials and like the printing history of comics, because the glossy paper is just so common to me that I've forgotten that it is on this like crappy newspapery kind of paper.
Right.
Sometimes.
Well, and I'm just like the reason that's just making me think that is because this coloring I think would really do well on that newspaper.
Yeah,
paper,
it would.
You know what I'm saying? Just the way it's kind of it's not very digital. It feels very like four colory.
Yeah, it does feel like a very pre-digital in terms of the art, which is good and bad, but.
Yeah. So Black Canary is, doing a good job, like not harassing this guy, but like intimidating him, and just like, okay, we know you're planning on stealing your employees' retirement funds, that kind of thing. But they don't actually have anything on him. It's just like a plan of his. So they're like, all right, don't do that stuff. And then we get some nice personal shots of them just kind of hanging out in the clubhouse. I was kind of expecting there to be more characters in the Birds of Prey. I didn't know that there was only the two of them before Huntress joins, but I very quickly kind of got that relationship between them of hey, they're just a team together doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, because I was expecting a 5-person team.
Yeah. We do get a mention.
That's what I expect, and the movie would make you think that too.
Yeah. We get a mention that Oracle does not like the Huntress. I wonder if that'll come up at all. And then the shrimp,
because she I guess dated Dick Grayson recently in this continuity.
Yeah, there's a lot of history of that kind of stuff going on. So and Black Canary is currently dating Dick Grayson. Is that the story?
No. She's recently broke up with Green Arrow.
That's right. That's right.
But Barbara Gordon, even though she's not dating Dick Grayson, likes him. So it's very high school. Even though they're not together, she doesn't like that he's together. He was together with Huntress.
Okay, I get that. Okay, all right. Then there's a scene where they're eating Italian food, and I think the implication here is that Black Canary gets an orgasm from the shrimp. Is that accurate?
I think
is that what happened? Okay, great. Because there's little lines drawn coming out of her crotch as if to say that there's an explosion happening, and I don't know. I just don't know.
She fell over. I think that's what the lines were.
Oh, okay. I see. This is such a great feminist book, but a lot of times there's some super cheesecakey art throughout it, and panels that only show a woman's crotch, and that's it.
There's a lot of a button taking up half the frame.
There's a lot of that, and it's such an interesting back and forth between this great female author who's putting some really forward thinking stuff out there.
Yeah, I don't know how much we've talked about Gail Simone, but people may be familiar with fridging or the women in refrigerators concept of female characters dying just to forward a male character's journey. And so they're basically written as disposable. And Gail Simone wrote that essay and coined that term, specifically talking about an ADC comic.
And had a website that collected all the times that it happened, yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the women in fridges thing is a response to one of Green Lantern's girlfriends who was cut up and put in a fridge or something like that?
I believe so, yes.
Okay,
it was a green something, but I don't...
Yes, it was Green Lantern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, weird stuff.
So that's who we're coming from with Gail Simone, is a very smart, good feminist that's really up on her comic history.
So while they're enjoying... Go ahead.
And the artist is Ed Benes, who is very clearly he is very clearly influenced by J. Scott Campbell, who created Gen 13.
That's who I thought this reminded me of. Yes, J. Scott Campbell. Yeah.
His art looks like his, and so it's very cheesecakey, and the anatomy is sometimes off in the service of showing somebody's legs or whatever, where you're why would they look like that? But yeah, he's definitely from that previous school that was more popular, I think, in the 90s. Although Ed Benes got big in the 2000s. He did Justice League after this and did the same stuff.
Yeah,
and drew the terrible alternate cover of Captain America's death that I got because my comic book store gave me the variant thinking I'd want it. And I'm this is an Ed Benes cover. I don't want this shit.
All right, so while they're enjoying their orgasm shrimp, the little notification thing goes off because they've been following this guy and tracking his phones and everything, and they see that he's now writing a suicide note talking about how he's going to take his family out with him, and they're like, "Oh my God, we intimidated him too much. We gotta go save this guy now." And Black Canary, rushes off while Oracle tries to chat with the guy. And it turns out that it is a trap. Oh my God, no! He's not going to kill himself. In fact, there's an even bigger bad guy named Savant. Oh no! And he's got a henchman named... What was his henchman's name?
I don't remember.
Creole? Was it Creole?
Creote.
Creote.
It's like Creole, but with a T.
That's right. Thank you. Creote.
Cajun seasoning himself.
Yeah. we have Savant, who is like this mastermind behind this thing, is capturing Black Canary. Oh no, she's been caught. Yeah, it's rough stuff. That's issue 1. Sorry, I don't think we really learned too much about this Savant guy. We just see him. We learn more about him as we go along here, but this like greedy CEO is kind of working for this Savant guy, and there's a few different things going on. But right now we're kind of focusing on Huntress in this next issue. She's doing her Huntress thing. She's saving a baby who's been kidnapped by a kind of crazy couple who thinks this baby is theirs. This baby is not theirs, but they think it's theirs. Black Canary is a hostage still. We hear Savant. Okay, I'm talking way too much, man. Boy, what was really?
I mean, I feel like this is a very thin story.
It is.
I mean, at the same time, like we didn't need to spend like 3 issues of Black Canary tied up before she broke out. Maybe it's just 2 issues.
Black Canary was tied up a lot. But I do find myself just kind of enjoying the way this book flows.
Yeah, I do too. This is a pleasant book. This is a really good book.
Yeah.
It's pleasant. It's good.
It's not difficult to read at all, and yet I don't feel like it's a dumb kind of beat 'em up, like, oh, okay, blah, 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 nothing happened. Like, stuff is happening, but just at the right pace, just kind of like ease yourself along with it and get enough of the characters as you go.
Yeah, because I don't think I've read like a single Black Canary book where she's not like 5th build or lower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, like if we're being totally honest, and I'm like, I like her character. I don't know that much about Huntress except she's a little headstrong. I don't know how much I've read of like Oracle. I've read some Babs Gordon books, but not with her that in the Oracle position. And this Savant dude is interesting enough. He looks, dumb. He's got dumb art design, but he sticks around. I like seeing you. You're dumb.
Yeah.
He's got like a Eurotrash look. I think it's good.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah, Eurotrash is definitely a good way to describe him. Yeah. And how would you describe Creo? As like Eurotrash but bigger?
Yeah, but he's the one that's just got like the big like one single ponytail coming out of the top of his head, right?
Yeah, he's got the samurai ponytail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't get too much characterization out of him from the whole thing, but we do learn later that he's in love with his boss, and that's kind of cute.
Right, which I guess the foreshadowing for that is how uninterested when Black Canary fake hits on him. Right. She, I guess, is like, oh, he must be gay.
Or he's just a smart, capturer.
He's a henchman that's like, focused on what he's supposed to be focused on.
Yeah.
Nope, he's gay.
Gay. Yeah, it's pretty nice. So while Huntress is doing her Huntress thing, Oracle calls her up and says, hey, can you help us with saving Black Canary? And Huntress is like, why are you calling me? Like, she doesn't even like me. And they say, well, I guess there's some history there with maybe some assault on Black Canary because they don't want... Like, she knows she's got to call someone in the Bat family, and she doesn't want to call a man. She wants it to be a woman to save her. So, I think we get the implication that some kind of history has happened with Black Canary. I guess we don't really need to know exactly what, but just that it'd be, like, in case these men tried anything creepy with her, it's better off to have a woman saving her, And again, that's a nice kind of, like, forward-thinking little plot point, which I appreciate. Good excuse to get some more ladies in this book. She's a hostage, like you said, for a while. I think at one point we, like in the second issue, she decides to break her own bones so that she can get out of there. In the fourth, like by the fourth issue, she's finally out. Except she can't go anywhere because there's stairs and she's got broken bones now, so she's basically just recaptured again. And she spends a long time there.
I mean, she's not really recaptured.
You're
she
right.
Just gets in
really.
A fight.
She's just still kind of hanging out there. Yeah. She's not totally free yet.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a better way to describe it. Meanwhile, Savant is like putting these demands out towards Oracle, saying, "Hey, I need information. I need you to tell me what I need to know. I know everything except this one thing." We found out that he just wants Batman's secret identity.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
The summary of the issue really blows that.
Yeah,
because it's like Savant wants one thing, Bruce Wayne, or not Bruce Wayne, Batman's identity. And I'm like, I don't remember him establishing that in the previous issue, but okay. Maybe I missed that. And then it's revealed like halfway through this issue, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I knew that was coming.
I'm not really sure why that needed to be a surprise either. It's just like, okay, that's this villain's motivation. That's pretty good. It never comes up as like, you know, something crazy. Like, oh my God, can you imagine? There's a villain who wants to know who Batman is. What?
Yeah, I mean, I like that everybody doesn't know like Oracle's gender, and they know the idea of Oracle exists, but they can't figure out Oracle, although they clearly have Oracle's number and they can trace people, but you know, whatever. But I like that idea that everybody's heard of the Oracle, and they're like, well, shit. I mean, I'm sure the Oracle knows this fact. Like, why wouldn't she, or why wouldn't they know this? And then it's a good accidental, like, well, this has implications personally for Barbara. But
yeah,
it's also like, I mean, in the world of secrets, like Batman's identity isn't one of the biggest ones, I imagine.
Yeah. I like the fact that Savant and Oracle both use the same private messaging application on their computer, and that application takes up the entire window. Like, that's like the whole screen.
Very
just
low resolution screens.
Yeah, like, could you imagine using AOL Instant Messenger and having it full screen on your computer ever?
We have Jabber at work, and it takes up a significant amount of screen real estate.
Oh, no. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how I remember AIM. It just took up your entire screen, right?
Yeah, you couldn't do anything while you had AIM.
I'm thinking, all my instant message apps we've gone through like Same Time and Skype and Jabber, and they all take up a lot of space.
Skype is huge.
Yeah.
Why does Skype need to be so huge? I guess video. Like,
I think also they designed it for like a touchscreen interface for Windows 8 and 10.
That's fair.
So anyway, we learned Savant's origin, which is that he wanted to be a superhero because he has like an amazing memory. He's a super genius. He's in amazing shape. We see him doing like gymnastics while he's talking to Oracle. So like he goes out to fight crime, and he's like beating up these thugs who I guess set a building on fire. And Batman shows up and is like, "Get out of Gotham! Stop being a crime fighter!" And he's like, "What? What'd I do?" And he's like, "You beat up these thugs instead of saving the people who were in a burning building." So like, he failed.
Batman was a dick to me.
Yeah, Batman was mean to me. I'm going to be villain now.
He failed the morality part of can you be a superhero by being like, well, I'm just going to beat up bad guys. That's all I do.
I mean, it's pretty. I mean, that's pretty fair, I guess. If you can't join him, beat him. Is that how it goes? I don't know.
Like that's still like corrective behavior. Like he's like, well, the Zero, he's got a lot of spunk. We just need to redirect him and like correct him. Like, okay, well, you're still in training, so what we need to focus on, bro, is saving people other than just beating up bad guys. Okay,
right. His heart was in the right place.
I mean, but maybe like he just can't handle criticism, and he's like, "Fuck you." This guy was like, I mean, maybe Batman was just trying to like redirect him, and he's like, "Fuck this guy."
Yeah, this was Batman's test.
Yeah, because Batman does do this. I've been reading a bunch of Huntress comics, and he does do this to the Huntress a lot, where he's like, "You shouldn't try to kill this person," and so he'll be like, "Okay, but I'll let them die." He's like, "No, that's bad too."
It's like an extra like part of like the decision tree.
Oh boy, yeah. So what else is happening? Oh yeah, they also are able to learn more about this Savant guy because for whatever he just loves to prove how smart he is. What a douchebag! And he calls Oracle and talks to her in 3 languages. It's like French, Greek, and something else, like Japanese, maybe. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it's like Thai or something.
Okay, there we go. And he is like kind of rusty with 2 of them, but he's really good with his Greek. And Oracle recognizes this, and he says, "All right, I'm gonna start looking around, poking around my cameras in Greece, see what I can find, my intel." She finds out that he's like, some rich kid who went to Greece, and got like the cops were onto him. What did he do? He just fucked up. I don't know.
Yeah, he was basically just a small-time criminal because he was a bored rich guy. And yeah, so she reveals who he is, which very much annoys him.
they start to like go in and find all of his information. Like he's been hoarding information as well, and they're sending viruses in to take his stuff, and that finally is kind of what does him in. Like they're able to take him down like that and distract him with his files, and they catch him. And that was by issue 4. This kind of mini story with him is sort of over, and then we get a 2-parter after that, which is cool. But anything else with this immediate 4 issues? What happened?
Huntress drives a motorcycle into the guy with the samurai haircut, which was cool.
Yeah. There was some cool stuff throughout all of this. I enjoyed reading it. It's hard for me to pinpoint specific moments and things that happened because it's just like, oh yeah, it's an overall pleasant read.
Yeah, Huntress has a stupid costume at this point in time because Hush had just come out, and so Jim Lee redesigned her costume for a Batman-adjacent character to basically wearing a 2-piece swimsuit, or at least have like a window for her abs, so she could more easily be shot. So Gail Simone at least has a line where Black Canary's like, "Why did you do that to your costume?"
I think her answer is 700 sit-ups a day. Is that what it is?
So you're saying I could look like Huntress with just 700 sit-ups a day?
I mean, try doing 700 sit-ups every day. That's. I think you could look like Huntress. Yeah.
Okay. Well, challenge accepted.
Yeah. Are you going to do 700 sit-ups every day from now on?
And then, and at some point, then I will fight crime in a 2-piece. This is the way.
Sorry. On, you're misunderstanding the order of this. You got to start wearing the 2-piece first. No. Then you do. Then you do the.
I think then it's become like a it's cyclical. Like one begets the other. Like
Oh, like chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which came first, the bikini or the abs?
I think it's gotta be the abs, right?
I think so. I think that's accurate.
Okay, so I got to do 700 sit-ups a day, and then I can fight crime in a 2-piece, and a purple 2-piece at that. Got it.
I'm just
Chris, I want to. Has there ever been a Jim Lee costume redesign that's been good or stuck?
I would have to really dig.
I mean, I kind of mildly liked the collar that Superman got with the New 52 when Jim Lee redesigned the entire Justice League's costumes.
Come on,
I like that collar, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's his design sense, maybe not the best. It's very much rooted in like 1991.
Yeah, that sounds like
that's
Jim
our
Lee.
Call out to the listeners: is find us a good Jim Lee costume redesign.
Yeah,
we know it exists.
If you know any good Jim Lee costume redesigns, not original Jim Lee characters.
Oh, redesign.
Yeah, like classically designed character Jubilee, whose costume we all love.
Okay, so we're on to the next 2 issues. We're on to issues 60 and 61. This is kind of just now following a little bit of it. It's kind of the same story. Like this whole thing is just an ongoing thing, of course. Comic books, they're ongoing, and we have Black Canary is now in a wheelchair as well because she got real banged up, broke a lot of bones during that whole ordeal. But they've got a few things they got to take care of. There's a senator who wants to meet with Black Canary, but Black Canary is injured, so Huntress pretends to be her and kind of goes to talk to this senator. We also get a lot of shots of Savant in prison. I really, really, really like this shot at the beginning of issue 5 where it talks about, what's the quote? A whirlwind of maniacs here in Arkham Asylum. And it's just like this spiral of different floors. But it's also got guards really prominent in this scene, like to show that they are the maniacs in this situation. Like a bunch of power-tripping guards who are kind of taking advantage of everyone. The one who's bringing Savant in talks about how he's got dirty pictures of Poison Ivy, all that kind of stuff. I wish it was played up a little bit more throughout all of this. Like maybe we're getting to the point where it's going to be even more like beating up on the man, the people in charge. But yeah, I just instantly really like the imagery of this. No. Yeah. Did y'all pick up on any of that? No? Whatever. Okay. Cool. The senator, though. This senator's a big storyline here. He also knows about Oracle. He's like, one of these dirty senators who hunts ducks. Ugh, what an asshole. Killing ducks. he used to be friends with Savant, and he said, "Well, so you took Savant down, and I gotta, that guy was working for me. So listen, I need you to find me the Oracle." It's great, but then they're like, "Nah, we're not intimidated by you. We don't really care."
Yeah, it really should be a one-issue thing, but I don't mind that it's two. Like reading it in collections.
Yeah. It is almost like kind of introducing the fact that this guy is going to be like a major, not villain necessarily, but at least somebody who
Like
is out to get Oracle. Yeah, it's some antagonist. Yeah, antagonist. That's a good word. Do writers use that?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, and like over the course of both of these issues, Savant escapes from Arkham. He's got some like just big tough a guard who's been assigned to beat him up the whole time, and he takes him out, of course, because he's Savant. He's Eurotrash, and Eurotrash always prevails. A lot of hanging out in a restaurant. Barbara Gordon saying, "No, I don't want that guy hidden on me." That kind of stuff. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Is it the same place that they went to in the first issue where Oracle or where Black Canary
where she got her
implied?
It sounds like it's probably the same place. I mean, if you're going to have two Italian restaurants throughout the course of a book, might as well make it the same restaurant and give it some continuity,
And Huntress does at least have the line that like I am Italian, like restaurant pasta is trash to me, which I thought was funny.
It was funny. I enjoyed that. There's just a lot of funny little lines throughout this whole thing. None that were funny to the point that I ever felt like, oh, I got to write that line down, But it was just like constantly pleasant, and I enjoyed reading all of it. And now that I'm at the end, I'm like, oh, I kind of wish I'd written more of them down to just point them out. But yeah, it's just like that's the best way I can describe this book. It's just really fun to read. I think more than any book recently that we've read that was an ongoing, I just kind of want to keep reading more. It does a really nice job of building a lot of its plot points. By the end of the 6th issue, we know that people are out to get Oracle's identity, and we've got two kind of big antagonists that are out to get her. And we've got some, shifting team composition. We've got just a lot of interesting stuff going on around everything, and I want to read more.
Yeah, I do think because there had been other like guest stars in Birds of Prey, like Power Girl and Deathstroke the Terminator and Lady Shiva, and so a lot of like just random characters would show up for an arc. But I do think it becomes a little bit more of a team book when Huntress shows up. That it's like, oh, like we could have the kind of a 3-person core, and then they'll still have guest stars and stuff like that, but it's a little bit more like the Blackhawks or whoever.
Yeah.
But or Manhunter, like Vince mentioned, joins later, and so it's an interesting way to sort of make it more of a team book, where you've got all these relationship type things where you're like, oh, I don't really care what the bad guy does this week, but are the friends going to? Because we didn't even mention one of the big spoilers of the arc is Savant has all this, and Black Canary's like, well, I don't think Oracle needs this information, and I think it's like it wouldn't be right to keep it, so she throws it away. And then Oracle doesn't tell Black Canary, like, oh, by the way, I have that information anyway.
Yeah, that was. I'm still like, y'all should have not burned that though. There's a lot of like garbage people like that are actually like influential and can are really hurting people. We should probably hold on that Black.
Yeah,
but or reported.
It's kind of their attempt at like the Dark Knight moment where Lucius Fox is like, no one man should have all that power to Batman, but it's like, these are just crimes.
Yeah.
Well, and it's all like punching up. It's not really like punching down or like,
Yeah.
So, what I really like about this book is the fact that it has a lot of downtime in the characters.
Yeah.
Like, so Dinah Black Canary is like injured for the issues parts 5 and 6 we read here, and so she's in a wheelchair also, and like Barbara's got some beefs with her, and they had like this kind of like simmering beef, around although I don't think it's fully come up around, the information being destroyed, but also like you're a liability. You've kind of been going off half cocked in these missions. So Barbara's got issues with her, but at the same time, like every time Dinah like gets stuck with a wheelchair, or is not used to working with a wheelchair the way Oracle is, Oracle like helps her still. Like they're still like friends despite conflict, and it's a really like I mean it's a very real dynamic, but I don't see it that often. Like, and the fact that like the book just gives it time to breathe, to just have those kind of moments, and like where you don't care about like I don't care what you shit what the bad guy's up to. Like how are these people just like interacting right now? Like this book does a really good job of that.
Yeah, I didn't mention the other bit I really liked is that Oracle fires Black Canary because she loves her so much and she is worried that she's going to get herself killed out in the field. And, they have a nice conversation about that throughout these couple issues. And I just really enjoyed that. They kind of, settle on the fact that, okay, you're going to be you're going to do your thing. I got to learn to live with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right though, Kia. In terms of like, we used to have, I think at the beginning of this show, where we would say like, "Are you going to keep reading this?"
Yeah.
I mean, I think the only time I ever actually made good on that was Lock and Key, where I proceeded to then read like a lot more Lock and Key. But this is a good one. And considering like when I started reading comics, like I read a lot of like DC books, and I'm like, not feeling this like in the mid 2000s.
I wish I'd read this.
I really wish I had. I remember comic people like loving it, and I'm just like, I've been burned by a lot of critically acclaimed DC books, and so I think by the time I get to Birds of Prey, I'm like, I'm not reading this.
I always loved the Bat adjacent books, like Nightwing around this time, Robin. Like those were to me the best books DC were putting out.
That also reminds me, Nightwing is on the cover of the last issue 61, but he's not in it, right?
No, it's. I guess it's just because it's again Barbara Gordon's like connected to him, but he's not. He does not appear.
Yeah. It's called Tough Choices, issue 61. Can anyone tell me what the tough choice was?
I guess Black Canary getting her job back. I don't
know. There were multiple tough choices.
I guess there were. All right. The Savant breaking out of prison. He made a choice to do that, and he was tough to do so. So that's a tough choice.
He was tough.
Yeah, he was tough. Great. So, that's Birds of Prey. Did anybody have a panel of the week? I don't always remember to mention that. It's. I don't know if there were any specific panels. There a lot of cheesecake, like we mentioned. Throughout the
it was some panel on Huntress's butt. I don't know.
I feel like there might have been some like cool specific art things, but again, just like the dialogue that I really liked, it was just like, okay, the art that was never specifically worth mentioning or pointing out, but always enjoyable enough.
And I should say, I mean, I don't dislike Ed Bennis's art. I think he does a good job of like conveying what's going on. And some of the stuff, I think it's good, and he has very clean lines. Again, like that's why he reminds me of J. Scott Campbell. It's just he has some like real instincts that you have to curb, where you're like, dude, like calm down.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think are we ready to move on to Marvels now?
Yeah. Marvel's Eye of the Camera.
Our Eye of the Camera, a sequel to Marvels, that we just finished reading, by Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross, except this time it's Kurt Busiek and what's his name? Jay
Anacleto.
Anacleto. Okay. I've never read anything that he's drawn. Has he done anything else that we would know? Jay Anacleto?
Not really. He had done some like indie comics. It looked like that's where they found him from. Basically, this book was supposed to be made for the 10th anniversary of Marvels, but they got behind the schedule by 6 years. Although I think this came out like what in 06, 07, thereabouts. And Alex Ross, and they were like,
no,
Alex,
this came out in 2010 is when this came out.
Oh shit, really? So so they were 6 years behind. I was trying to figure out the timeline. Yeah, and they asked Alex Ross, they're like, "Yo, do you want to do this?" And he's like, y'all do your thing. I'm good.
Yeah. Did he do the covers at least? No, he didn't even do the covers.
He didn't even do the covers.
Oh wow.
And Busiek, it took so long to produce that Busiek was was exclusive to DC by the time it came out. It already turned into
That's
script.
true. Yeah, he's doing Trinity by this point.
Oh, that's right, with Bagley. That's right, that weekly comic with Mark Bagley. That's right.
So yeah, they got this other artist who has like I don't know how to describe his style. It's almost like painted, like digital painting. Would you call it that? Is it digital?
It looks digital.
If it's not digital, it looks very digital. Yeah,
it's kind of got a very like digital airbrushy. It's not as it's not as digital as you would expect from like when we talk about like digital coloring, of companies we used to work for and that kind of thing. But it also doesn't. I mean, I read all these interviews, and I was looking at all these interviews like when it was launched. They're like, we got him, and he's like very comparable to Alex Ross. I'm like, really? Because the first fucking page has the ugliest goddamn faces. Like, it is such like the worst like foot to put on the door. Like, like the mom's forehead is so huge. The children look like monsters, and like the faces are hideous.
It makes you appreciate Alex Ross in that he can draw he can draw old, ugly people. God, that's a terrible thing to say. But they look attractive in this like Alex Rossy way. I don't know how to. What
Alex
I'm saying,
Ross makes everybody look real majestic, and he paints them in a real looks in a good light, and it's usually like his friends. Alex Ross did seem my problem with Alex Ross in Marvels is that a lot of people that he used seem to have like mid-90s facial hair, like goatees in the 60s, which didn't seem to fit, but there were a lot of like 90s hairstyles in the original Marvels, but I didn't really mention that. But this is ostensibly a sequel, although I feel like it jumps earlier than some sequences in the original Marvels.
Oh boy, I got a lot of questions about this. Yeah, like we start with how did Marvels end? Marvels ended with our hero, Phil Sheldon, the photographer, saying, "Gah, fuck this shit, I'm grumpy now, I quit." And that was the end of the book, right?
Right.
He gave his camera to his assistant and said, "You go be a photographer now. I'm going to start enjoying life."
And he says, "I'm not going to deal with any more superheroes. Hey, Ghost Rider, come take a picture with me."
Right. And so in this book, we start kind of the opposite, where Phil's like, I'm thinking of quitting. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? Where? Maybe I was supposed to wait 16 years before I read this so that I'd forget what had happened before. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Marvels was not super fresh in my mind when I read this in, I guess, 2010.
So wait, so you read this before?
I read it and then never finished it. To be fair, I think it took a year between the 5th and 6th issues to publish.
Wow.
But I'm jumping right to the end. This book just doesn't have like the majestic art. It just doesn't make it. It focuses too much on the humans. It doesn't even just like show the superheroes like in the background or like them like looking up at superheroes.
Although to be fair, Alex Ross, who was putting out a series around this time, had a huge gap in between, and that series wasn't that great either.
Yeah.
Right.
Was that Justice or a different series?
I think what was it called? It was like the Golden Age series.
I don't even know.
Project Superpowers?
Maybe. I don't know anymore.
So what's interesting is it's not just the art that isn't majestic, but the writing really isn't either. Like with the original series, you had it was celebrating different periods in time and different major milestones and like periods that we all kind of remember. With this book, it's my company wanted me to go check out the original site that the Fantastic Four, had their mission from.
And that's honestly the coolest part of the whole issue to me.
It really is. It really is.
And I'm like, more of this. Yeah.
Yeah. And this, oh boy. Like, speaking of art, this shot of, Patrick Duffy with his torso all kind of elongated. It's Reed Richards. It is the worst looking Reed Richards I've ever seen in my life, I think. He's just kind of waving and leaning over. Like, that's the weirdest way to show him being stretchy. This is when I really turned on the book and said, I don't know if I can do this.
Buckle up, we got 5 more episodes.
The thing is even more off model than that.
the thing is very off model, but I can at least appreciate it as like a piece of art, you know. Reed Richards, man, oh, boy, this is my panel of the week because I'm never gonna get this image out of my. I'm not gonna get this image out of my head of just like leaning over Reed Richards.
You know, it would have been better if Sue Storm looked more like Suzanne Summers, and then it would be step by step, Fantastic Four edition.
Who's the Thing? Is it who's that guy? Cody?
Cody.
Yeah. They even go to Coney Island, so you've even got the roller coaster.
Oh, the Codester. All right. What else even happened in this issue? He found out that his daughter might be dyslexic. Okay.
Or just need glasses.
Well, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
At the very least, blind.
Because this is a Full House plot. Speaking of TGIF.
What other
she keeps acting out in school, Vince. What's the problem?
Stephanie needs glasses, guys. Stephanie needs glasses.
And then Phil. I did think it was a strange choice when the very first panel shows him smoking, and then comes back around at the end. He got lung cancer. Phil Sheldon, a book where we celebrate heroes. You know better than they get lung cancer in the middle of all this. You're going to keep the fans from enjoying their superhero books. Damn it, wait, Phil. Nice job smoking. This is why you don't smoke, kids. You're going to ruin comic books with dumb storylines about lung cancer. No, I shouldn't say that. I'm sure it's going to be a great storyline. We have 5 more issues to look forward to of Marvel.
It's just like, I mean, I'm misremembering the page count of Marvels, which we just read, which did have a lot of fill. But I've had my fill. Like, I'm done.
You've had your Phil Sheldon.
No, I'm just like looking at like the page count. Like, I mean, we start with like, I don't like Phil Sheldon. I think he's like an asshole, and he's not. I mean, I think we compared him in a previous episode to like one of the lesser assholes of Mad Men, and that's true. That's true.
Yeah. The one that got shot in the eye.
Yes, exact same character. But I'm still like, I don't feel him. I feel like he's super curmudgeonly and like just like not a very fun protagonist to latch onto. And then so we spend a lot of time with him. And like what I want to see is like real people's perspective on superhero, specifically big superhero events, recontextualized. And I don't feel like there were any of those in this book.
Yeah. I mean, like, I really think this book makes a huge mistake by thinking we care about Phil Sheldon.
Well, now hold on a second. What if the only way to save Phil Sheldon's lung cancer is to give him like this radioactive serum, and Phil Sheldon turns into the next biggest superhero? Like I don't know.
It's probably going to become the spirit of vengeance.
Newsman,
like Windsor McKay or whatever. Not Norman McKay. That's
Norman
right.
McKay. I bet it's
Kingdom Come.
I hope it's got like a photographer-y kind of superpower. Like I don't know how that works. Like he can take a snapshot of something and freeze it in place for a little while. Whoa, that'd be cool, like a photographer. And then go ahead.
It does make me think like they recently did Spider-Man Life Story. Like, they could definitely do a story from Betty Brant's perspective about, I dated a teenager briefly, I worked for J. Jonah Jameson, then I married a man who people thought was the Hobgoblin. Like, my life is very specifically cursed.
Hey, don't sleep on the fact that she also dated Venom.
Right.
Flash Thompson Venom.
Wow.
So, like, her life is very specifically cursed by being in close proximity to Spider-Man, but not knowing it.
That would be a good Betty Brant. That's a good pitch, Chris. I'm putting that down on the list.
Yep.
We got a lot of them now.
Where I'm just like, if you made a story, like, instead of this, if it was like Betty Brant and like 3 or 4 other like, secretaries or assistants or like something like that, and it was their perspective of like, living through the 60s and 70s, like that, now I'm interested. Instead of like Phil Sheldon, local, grump, who's like, my stupid kids just need stupid glasses and braces. Nobody respects superheroes anymore like they did in my day.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know why I'm reading this book as I'm reading it, but I can't wait to make fun of the rest of it. It's going to be great. All right. Whew. Anything else we want to say about Marvel's Eye of the Camera?
It's gonna be a rough 5 weeks.
It's gonna be a rough week. That's okay. We got some other fun stuff to read. They're not all going to be winners, and sometimes it's nice to be able to read a book and know that I don't have to pay attention to it. So
Birds of Prey good. Marvel's Eye of the Camera not feeling good.
Birds of Prey really good. Yeah. All right. So next time we are doing a fun little reboot. It's Valentine's Day coming up, right? Yeah. We're gonna read some Archie. Ooh, isn't that romantic? Maybe the most romantic comic book of all time, Archie.
I feel like we've had diminishing returns, though, on every Archie book we've read.
We have. So we have not... We've only read a lot of Archie horror, though. Have we ever read, like, any regular Archie?
No, we haven't. And Kia, honestly, like, Robert Hack from Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, I found out he did Archie versus Predator 2.
Yeah.
So I feel like I may need to read that.
Okay, we can read that.
But
did we ever read Archie versus Predator 1?
No, which doesn't have Robert Hack art. I feel like we should just
we should do both of them. Should we do that instead next time?
No, they're not out yet in trade. So
Okay. When they are out, we will do those. But for right now, we're just going to read that Archie reboot from 2015. Yeah. Written by Mark Waid with art by Fiona Staples. Not Fiona Apples. Fiona Staples.
Yeah.
This is... What's that?
She's an extraordinary machine, but Fiona Staples.
Yes, she is. This is just a whole reboot of mainline Archie. I have read a lot of these. I think I stopped around issue 20 or so when I just kind of stopped reading monthly comics. But I really enjoyed reading this. It's just it's good stuff. Have either of y'all read this?
No, I haven't. I remember you talking really highly about it, and it just was always been on my pull list, and I just have never gotten around to checking it out. But I think I'm ready.
Chris, have you read it?
Nope.
Okay, I hope I'm remembering this well enough and liking it. But me from 5 years ago can't be all that wrong, right? It's very possible.
So did Fiona Staples take a break from Saga to do this?
That I don't know. We'll do some research and we'll figure it out. Yeah. I feel like I've read a bunch of stuff Fiona Staples has done.
She's really good.
Yeah, I like her stuff a lot. Her art's really good in Archie. It's a nice modernization of Archie. It's not like Riverdale. It's just kind of its own thing. Yeah, we'll get to it and we'll have a great time, and we'll also have a really great time reading Marvel's Eye of the Camera #2 as well. Anything else we got to mention? Chris, how's Your Stupid Minds doing? Anything new?
Yes, we recently had an episode come out about maybe the worst movie of 2019, The Fanatic, where Fred Durst directs John Travolta.
Hey,
so,
you like biscuit? You like that biscuit?
Yeah, you like a little biscuit? You like that?
I listened to that episode. It was good. Chris, I like how you clarified.
Want to hear Devin Sawa say that.
I liked how y'all clarified that it was the worst movie y'all saw of 2019 because y'all didn't talk about LaQuisha,
no,
which you're not going to see. And then I like also how y'all compared that Devin Sawa did better work in the Stan video about a fanatical fan than this movie.
Yes, it's IMDb quality trivia of he was in both things about fanatical people.
Whoa, I'm very curious to see this Fanatic movie.
I see it every day when I go into, not every day, but every week when I go into Walmart. There's several copies of it just staring at me.
Wow! All right. Great. Anything else going on with you, Vince?
Not really right now. I'm just playing Witcher 3. You know how you do.
I couldn't get into Witcher 3. I really tried.
Yeah, I got it on the Switch, and it's been a little good. It's been better, but now I'm just thinking like I should just play Breath of the Wild. My son has the flu, and some kid we were waiting at the pediatrician's office, and he was playing Breath of the Wild on his Switch, and we were both like looking at like we should really start a new file, and that's what my son said. So I think we might just quit Witcher 3 again, and then play Zelda.
Play Breath of the Wild again. All right.
Awesome. Coin to your Zelda.
All right. Well, I think we're about done for this episode here. Thank you, Vince. I love you.
Love you very much.
Thank you, Chris. I love you.
Okay, you got to try this shrimp.
Oh, what?
3 lines.
Oh my god, I love the shrimp. Ooh. No, it's okay. I just fell on my butt. That's all that happened. I fell on. And I'm Kia. Thank you so much for listening. We love you. Have a great couple weeks. Love you. Bye.